Synthaholics, the Star Trek podcast.
Welcome to Synthaholics, your weekly shot of Star Trek. This is your host, David Duncan. With me is...
Aaron O'Brien.
And we also have a special guest with us today.
Jeff Heller from Film Dumpster. Welcome, Jeff.
Why,
Welcome.
thank you for having me, gentlemen. It's exciting to be here.
It is. It's nice. I've met you, I think, at the Buffalo Comic Con.
Originally, yeah, I was doing a Film Dumpster was hired to actually do some
Video work. You do a lot of video work. Yeah, so.
at cons and stuff. So we were hired, and I met you when you were with the Visions Group.
Visions Group, right.
And then by chance, I happened to work with your creative partner.
Yes, Dave.
Mr. Bowman.
Not just Dave,
Phil
but
Bowman.
Phil Bowman, right.
So, yeah, and David, I actually moderated your
Podcast panel at the Buffalo Comic Con September 2017.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have both danced around doing panel moderating.
Panels, yes.
Yeah.
Panel.
Panel moderating.
Yeah. So,
And Nickel City.
But why don't you give the audience kind of just a quick rundown of Film Dumpster?
Well, we're a film and entertainment website. We do movie news, film reviews, as many celebrity interviews as we can. They don't come around as often as we'd like, but we get to go to cons and we've gotten to interview a lot of fun people. We've got to do a lot of cast members for Star Trek, which has been fun.
You've done.
I got Shatner, which I can't ask for.
How'd you manage that?
I know. I saw that. I was so angry because I reached out to Shatner's crew too, and they
it was Nickel City set it up for me. Actually, we got right off the bat, we got a really nice relationship with them, and not as nice as say the Geekiverse has, but they've been nice to us, and they set it up. There was a phoner. It was the only phoner I've done out of all of those. But he was all, and here's the thing, I got some advice from maybe Pete, from the Geekiverse. I think maybe it was him. He said, don't ask him about Star Trek.
No, yeah. And you didn't.
No.
The whole interview was about his horses and his book on horses.
Yeah, and that's because he had a book coming out. I'm like, this is perfect.
So did you like riding horses in Star Trek Generation? Was that the best part? Was that the best Star Trek film you ever been on because you rode a horse?
I slipped. I think I literally slipped the word Star Trek into the interview at one point. That was it. Just to reference his age group, like his demographic age group changing.
Right.
But that was it. And I don't think I talked to Marina Sirtis about Star Trek a little bit, and Denise Crosby about. We talked about Tasha's really shitty demise,
right,
and her coming back. So we talked a little about with her. George Takei, I actually talked about his.
Well, she seems a little bit more into it.
Cause that's what she got going on.
Since she said the two Trekkie films.
Yeah. Well, that too. Yeah. George Takei, we talked about his. At the time, he was producing his Broadway show about the Japanese internment camp. So that's what we talked about. Walter Koenig was kind of a dick.
Well, we spoke with him back on like episode 9, but it was through somebody else.
Yeah,
because they were doing that. Todd Tonte was doing that Captain Pike fan film that never got anywhere, and he was one of the. He reached out to us, and we had Walter Koenig come on with him, so we had to talk about just this fan film. So we didn't get to ask anything, but he was always like. Walter Koenig was super into what he was talking about.
Oh yeah,
he didn't care about anything else. Really,
it was cool. This
is my favorite moment out of anyone I've interviewed. All those, but first of all, Marina Sirtis was maybe the nicest person I've ever. She was awesome. Like I would have hung out with her all day. She was super cool.
Yeah,
but Walter was. I was trying to. He wanted to know what we did, like who we were.
Nuclear? What?
Did you say that?
No, but I said something that was almost just. It would have put him off just as much because he goes. He wanted to know who we, what do you do? Who have you talked to? So I started rattling off our credentials, like who we've interviewed in the past, and at that point I'd already interviewed Shatner. So I've interviewed Shatner and George Takei, and he goes, "Oh, well, that's not going to help your cause."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, yeah, shit, I forgot there's some bad blood there."
Yeah. There's a Shatner had a show. That was like a talk show for like
that was
a minute.
Such a weird couch.
Yeah.
But it was like the two toilets. The
toilets, the facing toilets.
The holding hands.
Yeah. It's an interesting interview with him and George and Walter Koenig.
Taking dumps hands in hand.
Because Walter gets a little in his face, but then kind of backs off.
Oh, is that so?
It's you can YouTube. It's all on YouTube.
I put it on the page.
I saw a few episodes. I didn't see that one though.
And it was interesting because Walter felt that Shatner was always trying to steal the scenes, and that he never knew anything about the older, the smaller actors there, and didn't give a shit. And
Shatner was like, I didn't know.
Shatner was like, I just was trying to do, and part of me was like, yeah, I sort of get it.
Oh, 100%.
Shatner's just trying to push his career.
And it
forward.
wasn't at the time in the 60s, it was an ensemble. It was an ensemble cast, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was about Shatner.
And they didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't know that show was ever going to get big. He probably thought, I'll do this for 2-3 years, which he did, and then I'll go away and I'll do other things. And fortunately for him, fortunately for us, but unfortunately for him, it just stuck around forever.
So I've been lucky. I've been gotten to interview some, and it's been great. John Schneider, I've gotten to know him a little bit. His publicist I work with a lot now, actually. I got to Hasselhoff, every day of Hasselhoff. I got to go to the Ninja Turtles 2 set in New York. Went to the press junket there. We got to invited to the red carpet of Asheville's Evil Dead out in L.A.
Oh, nice.
So it was cool.
I'm sad the show's over though. They're not doing.
I know. Here's the thing though.
I
can't. I'm like, it sucks. I didn't watch the third season at all. So
I haven't seen the most recent season either.
So who am I? Can't complain. I haven't watched it. So
no, but
I'm one of the reasons it got canceled.
But the fact is, there's not going to be more. So I'm sad about. There's not going to be more.
And can people just, because I know you got the site, but can they just go to YouTube and find all those
we got
videos?
YouTube. It's a good film dumpster at YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff.
I just subscribed to it and watched a bunch of videos last night.
Because I know I've seen it. I just don't know if all those videos are still up there.
They are. Some of before we had some real press credentials, we used to do some sketch comedy, and some of them were pretty blue, and some of those have gotten taken down.
Okay.
Just recently, Vimeo. We had a sketch on Vimeo where it was... Hooper Ale. It was, hooping where you put alcohol up your anus to get drunk faster. It was like a Corona spoof.
Why have we not done this?
No, seriously.
We should do this. This should be our new pre-gaming regimen.
We should record while we're doing it.
We'll live stream it on Facebook.
So we
need to get someone to walk around with those black bars.
Nobody needs that.
No, so they don't see anything. We'll have actual black bars.
Oh,
so holding up. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so we had a Corona spoof on that. It was up there for years, and I get all the emails. Someone likes it. It is all, and I would check them out every time. Is all male nudists. Wow. Our entire demographic was all male nudists.
Wow.
So eventually Vimeo caught on and took, and it was up there. It was like in 100,000 views, and it got taken down.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
We need to reach out to the male nudists.
Right.
Apparently, we're missing a huge demographic.
Exactly. Let's get some female nudists too, but
Well, cool. We're glad you're aboard, and we're going
to
to have this discussion. We do have some major news, obviously.
Yeah.
San Diego Comic-Con.
Yeah, they did all the big reveals, and we've got season 2 of
Discovery.
Right.
It looks good. I'm pretty excited for it. It was like a 2-minute clip and change.
Yeah, it's and we get to see Pike in full action. He takes command of Discovery.
Well, I guess that answers who's going to be captain of the.
Yeah, it's not Saru.
No, it seems like they're obviously. I thought they would take a little more time to bridge the two. It seems like they're bridging a lot quicker than I thought they would.
I think it was just like an emergency thing where he says.
Well, I guess the emergency is Spock's quote unquote
those
missing
red
again.
lights in the sky. What are those red lights?
Oh, and they also said it's 34,000 light years distance or area for where they're appearing in, so they're going to have to use the spore drive. If Voyager went 70,000 light years away and it takes them 70 years to get there, half of that's 30 years. So they're going to have to use the spore drive.
Right.
And the warp drives aren't as efficient back in TOS era. So
sure, right.
So they're so at least Stamets will be useful because that's one of the things we were wondering at the end of Discovery.
What's going to happen with Stamets?
Is he going to be useless? I mean,
Right. Yeah. So
they're finding a reason to keep him going.
And we were talking before we started recording was the uniforms.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, but Dave, you think it's a little messed up?
Do you think it's silly that they're reverting back to the original uniforms, or ish close to the original uniforms?
I have no issue. I like the original colors.
Oh, I thought you were
in the
saying
Discovery
that
style.
you didn't like.
No, I was saying I saw on Facebook because we were talking before the show. I was talking about we were debating whether or not the cage comes first. And the reason I said the cage does come first is because people were complaining online because they showed like Pike in the cage, and they show Pike in Discovery, and they show Kirk wearing a turtleneck in the pilot,
right.
Very similar to Pike's original turtleneck. And then they show like the regular Kirk uniform, and so that's why I was like, okay, that's because the cage was before Discovery.
Yeah, but don't you think that's just like? I mean, obviously those
because we were talking about Pike's demure.
Yeah, that he seems upbeat. And not like crushed by the heavy wheel of command.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I wonder why.
I was just assuming that this happened all before the cage.
And that's how I took it as well.
Because
I'm pretty sure it's after, though.
Really? So who was in command of the Enterprise in between all that?
I think it's only been a year since the cage. I think Discovery takes place 1 year after the cage in season 1, so it's like been 2 years since the cage. By the end of because it's 9 months, a year, 9 months, and however much time passed in between the 9-month jump.
Now, do you think the writers are narrowing it down that specifically?
No,
I think so.
No, I don't. I don't think they even have a clue what they're doing. Honestly, I think they have probably there's some kind of guidelines, and I think they just write, and then somebody once in a while goes, "Don't you think?"
I feel like at this point they're more like the writers in the '60s, where they're just like winging it and hoping that they're lining up with the original. Canon.
I don't even think they're hoping because Brian Fuller passed down mandates that don't make any sense as far as canon goes, and Aaron Harberts and Gretchen Berg were there the entire season 1, and for the first 5 episodes of season 2. So I'm guessing they're upholding Brian's stupid canon breaking stuff. So hopefully, with them being gone, we'll get to less canon breaking stuff with people who actually care. Because supposedly they hired canon people, but maybe Aaron Harberts and Berg were just like, no.
Right.
Well, I think were they just underestimating the previous fan base? I have a feeling I think they were banking on a new fan base so much that they didn't give a shit about.
But
canon.
Jeff, my only issue with that is that how you get new fan base it's behind a paywall,
right? Exactly.
So you don't know anything about Star Trek, or maybe you saw a little bit of Star Trek. You're gonna throw in $6 a month to watch Star Trek.
Right. And how are you getting new people?
And you're not a fan.
Well, that's it. They're putting on a service that only Star Trek fans are going to pay for and watch, and they're not servicing them at all.
And there's nothing else on there except for old Star Trek.
I know it's been a beef for you guys. I've been catching up on the podcast. I know it's been brought up.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Well, if there is 5 more Star Trek shows in the pipeline, and they're intending on making 5 new Star Trek shows, then there will be Star Trek around.
If one of them is Lieutenant Barclay, I'm happy.
Yes, the Barcley Show. Who am I going to screw in the holodeck today? You can really use that. You can really,
Well, okay,
really up the MA rating.
Maybe like a Me Too version of the Barclay.
Exactly.
All the holograms.
Maybe that's why Marina Sirtis was up. They're filming the Barclay pilot.
Okay, so we got that. So that was interesting.
Oh, and they're also going to do like little webisodes, but they're going to be on CBS All Access.
Which is what we've been saying. I mean,
use the format, please, for the love of God.
Use the technologies that are out there, for God's sake.
And Rainn Wilson's coming back to play Harry Mudd in one of them, so I'm wondering if we'll see Harry Mudd in the season proper. Yeah. If he's going to be in one of the webisodes.
And we got casting for number 1.
Yes. Rebecca Romijn, which is an interesting choice. I never, of all the people I was thinking for number 1, she never entered my mind.
I wouldn't have thought of her.
I wouldn't have thought of her either, and I think that'll actually work out pretty good as long as she dyes her hair. So she painted her whole stuff blue for Mystique.
So we got another X-Men vet.
Yes.
Moving over to the Star Trek universe.
Sure.
Yeah. Or Star Trek universe, whenever the X-Men with Jean.
Yeah,
but that's cool. And I honestly, the trailer looks great. I mean, I know there's probably going to be things they're going to break canon with, or who knows.
They got those weird shuttle pod things.
Yeah.
With the old
Some
big
people
old
were complaining about that too. I was like, "You're going to complain about shuttlecrafts?"
I don't know. I guess they're one-man shuttlecraft, so I guess they're going to complain. Hopefully, they'll call them shuttle pods, so they'll be like,
well, they had little worker
bees, but they're different. They're different than worker bees, though, or they look different.
See, here's the thing: whenever stuff like that, I always think of the Flintstones. Like, if you take Flintstones as like this is historical accurate representation of what happened. They had record players and cars and stuff, and then they disappeared for a couple million years, and then we had to start them over again. That's how I feel with Star Trek is. They're coming up with these devices and like this technology, which is what Lucas did with Star Wars. Like he's like, the prequels are gonna have all this really cool technology. You're not gonna see them in 4, 5, and 6. They're gone by then.
But I always took the prequels to be like there was a better time with the Republic, and then the Empire.
No, I can see that. Yeah,
shit,
is that what's happening here? Then these one-man shuttlecrafts are no longer in existence in present day. Well, I'll put present day in quotes. Yeah. Present day Star Trek.
I don't know. It doesn't make a lot.
Those early TNG shuttlecrafts might as well be one person because it looked like really uncomfortable for 2 people to sit on those.
Well,
things.
I know they couldn't. They were built. They weren't built to scale.
Ugly boxes.
They weren't built to scale. They had to. They were. I forgot what the scale was. It was like 6/8 scale, whatever it was, and so they all had to like crouch down in them.
Right.
Those are bad.
Yeah, so that's great.
It's exciting. Although the sneeze at the end seems a little Orville-ish. I kind of like
Lois. What was the last scene?
The last scene is when the Saurian sneezes on the guy, and they're like, oh, "Excuse me."
It was totally Orville-ish.
I'm just like, why are they going for like this low?
It was a campy joke. Like it was like a lowbrow,
very lowbrow joke.
Yeah, like it was they're on a these.
It's like there's a Saurian standing in the shuttle. I mean, not the shuttle, in the turbo lift, and then Pike walks on, then Saru walks on, and some red shirt walks on, and Michael, she's like, "Oh, you're." He's like, "Ugh," like he's like got something wrong with his throat, and he sneezes on the blue shirt or something like that.
Oh,
and I'm just like,
I don't know. Maybe
it might have been a post.
Maybe you clicked it off.
It might have been a post. Yeah, it might have been a post.
It's the last thing you see. It's really short.
It's really campy.
And don't they do the same damn thing in the Orville thing?
Yes. They do.
So let's get into Orville because, I mean, it's somewhat Star Trek related.
Well, considering it's Orville season 1 was all rehashed Star Trek episodes.
Yeah, old TNG and stuff like that.
Or TOS.
Or TOS, yeah, just with a little comedy.
It's hard to tell if they're going to do the same thing in season 2, but...
I would love if they moved on to Deep Space Nine and did that. Like, that was their new... Like
make Deep Space Nine funny. That would be interesting.
That would be funny, actually.
Although I do really wish Orville would tell their own stories instead of rehashing Star Trek stories.
Was it like the South Park joke that the Simpsons have done everything first? It wasn't that the South Park joke?
Pretty much.
Every time they try to do something, like, the Simpsons did that.
The Simpsons already did it, yeah.
But they're like, let's do it anyway. It seems like it's funny. That's all.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There was a sneezing scene in the Orville one, too.
Yeah, and at the very, I
think it's Bortus who got sneezed on.
Yeah, right. But it's strange. That I would expect in the Orville.
Not in Star... But the thing is, I even complained in the pilot where they're all kind of bickering on the bridge. I felt that was kind of like Orville-esque.
Yeah.
Even though I guess Orville wasn't out yet. Or I mean, the way it looked was presented. It didn't seem like Star Trek. They seemed too bantery.
Right.
Like it was like, it doesn't feel like Star Trek in that first episode.
No, because there was... I felt as if it was a lack of, like... I felt there should have been more structure and, like, more... I don't know. They were almost too casual in their...
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, I guess she doesn't run a tight ship, I guess.
Yeah, it's military. They're a military operation, so you'd think that, they'd be a little more respective of each other.
And they're like, we're just doing this, they're scheduling you for your flight. They're doing like a fake flight thing. I'm just like she's like the guy was a flight attendant or something. Like, why?
Yeah.
I don't know, it was weird.
I like the Orville. I haven't. I don't think I've caught the very, very couple last episodes of Orville, so I missed out on a few of them.
Orville's good.
I really do like the Orville.
I'll be honest, I'm not. I've caught a couple bits and pieces of others. I like Seth MacFarlane a lot.
Yeah.
So that's really why I've watched it.
Yeah, it's good. I just feel like it is the Next Generation with comedy.
Right.
It's the Next Generation in crew setup with comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, even down to you've got the black guy driving who's now going to becoming the chief engineer.
Right.
I mean, like, really, you're copying the format much?
It's a little bit funny that way. Then he's copying exactly.
Exactly, and you've got the unemotional robot.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's learning about humanity.
Right. I mean, the only difference is that the first officer and the captain never had a previous relationship.
We don't know that.
We don't know that.
Riker gets around.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe him and Picard.
Maybe that's why he was so cold. It's like make sure you can do the manual docking. Make sure he remembers how to do it right.
Counter to PowerPoint.
So the docking take on a whole new intonation.
Oh, I'll dock it, Captain. Don't worry.
Get that cock docking going on.
Jeff.
Speaking of cock docking,
yeah. Oh. Well, it's actually funny because leading into this episode, there is a little bit of that of Riker's passion for his captain.
A little bit.
Yeah, I guess. Riker's always kind of like passionate about things, and then he gets.
But the thing is, he let it go after like season 3, and we're on season 5, going to 6 at this point, and he brings it back up.
It shows up once in a while. You keep on thinking he's going to grow as a character, and he never really quite does.
No. I'll turn on this promotion and this promotion and this promotion.
So when I reached out to Jeff, we were talking like what shows we want to talk about, and the one that we did he wanted to talk about time travel,
right? Because I love me some time travel,
and we picked Time Zero, which is a two-parter.
Incidentally, there's 49 incidents of time travel in all the Star Trek
there's tons of time travel. It's just insane. Which ones you really want to talk about.
Yeah.
Some are worth it, some aren't. And some we have talked before.
Yeah.
So, But anyways,
I love Time Zero. I've been looking forward to talk about this one for a while.
Oh, Time Zero. Yeah,
I've really enjoyed these episodes.
Should we get into it?
Aye, aye.
All right. So, Time Zero is season 5, episode 26. First aired June 15th, 1992. It's a long time ago, Dave.
Yeah. Mom was making pizza on Saturday night, and we'd get up on the couch and watch some Star Trek: The Next Generation.
All right, so
Opelousas, Louisiana.
Get the pizza going. So we get the beginning. Picard and Data are in this underground cavern under San Francisco, and a scientist shows them a bunch of an old monocle, a revolver, and a watch that has like an inscription on it.
So you brought us here for what?
Yeah, I know. It's like we've been out discovering.
He completely buried the lead on that whole thing. Oh, and by the way, we also found this.
It's almost like a magician. It's like, and the big reveal is Data's head. Right. I mean, like, why wouldn't you show him immediately?
That shouldn't have been I'll tell you when you get here. That's an immediate, look what we found. You've got to come back.
Here's
to Earth.
Some pictures. You got to get over here right now. Yeah,
they didn't have selfies back then.
I guess. Data is just a selfie of yours 500 years ago. So, they're doing some, some architectural stuff for whatever's on top of this cavern, and they're having some problems with the rock walls because they're supposed to be triolic waves. Mm-hmm. I looked up triolic waves. There's no such.
There's there's a lot of Trek talk in this one.
Yeah. So there's no triolic waves.
Well, considering they didn't know what it was and they couldn't make them in the Federation, I figured they were fake.
Sure. I thought, like, what are triolic waves? And I start doing good. It's like everything just start. When you only get Star Trek results, that I did see something interesting. So triolic tribbles.
Huh.
Don't know what that is, but it's out there.
It was a fan fiction. That's what that was.
I'm sure it was.
It's like a Richard Gere fan fiction where he sticks him up his butt.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Well, but deuterium's real.
Is it?
Yes, deuterium's real. It's a different form of like hydrogen or oxygen, something like that. It's an isotope.
Okay. So anyway,
it's real.
I believe it.
So like you said, Jeff, the big reveal is after he finds the triolic waves, and it said triolic waves are foreign to Earth. On the 19th century and the 24th century, he shows that Data's head's been severed. So big shock. Actually, and it looks like a good prop for once.
It really did. Well, the fact that it's a metallic paint job on it, like they didn't have to fake like human skin.
But when they turned on lore, the parts look literally like a mannequin.
Oh
yeah.
It's like the worst props. And what is that, season 1 or 2? I can't remember.
It's early, it's pretty early.
Anyways,
because they thought it was lore. They mentioned that they thought it might be lore.
Yeah, so back in the next scene, we have Data and Riker in engineering. Data's looking at the head, and he's marveling at all the little things that have deteriorated, and Riker's getting angry at him. He's like, your head's not an artifact, Data. And then Picard does ask if he thinks it's lore, and he says because he has a discriminating amplifier, which is type R.
Well, it's really funny because now seeing both episodes back to back and remembering everything, how like there's that thing stuck in the back of his head.
Yeah, he didn't see it.
Like Data's doing this detailed like breakdown of his own head, and he doesn't notice that one thing. Like,
there's an iron filing stuck in my head.
How long at this point? How long has Data been around for? For like 10 years, a little longer. How long has Data been in existence?
I would say it's
16.
Yeah.
I think he had like a 10-year. I think it took a long time, and he took on the remedial Starfleet because I don't think they could believe he was a learning being. I think they kind of treated him like crap.
When he was down on that colony where Soon made him,
he was also in storage for a while.
Yeah. So, but the scientists found him and they brought him to Starfleet. But I want to say his Starfleet career was a long, it wasn't fast tracked or anything. I think they were still trying to figure out if he was actually like intelligent. We trust this guy. It's going to be like Aliens. The android always goes against you in the end. So
does he shoot up blue milk? I mean, white milk stuff.
Maybe, we don't know. But he does estimate that he's been in the cavern for about 500 years, and Riker is getting more and more worked up about this. But Data does seem to accept his death as it has occurred and it will occur. So I thought that was interesting.
It's comforting.
Data's resolved to that. Geordi finds that with the triolic waves, he's found a species that like a small cellular species that is there that has a cellular membrane that can not be harmed by Trolloc waves. And there's only one species that's ever been, I guess, cataloged on the Davidian 2. And so they make trials to go to see Davidian 2 and see what that is. Not that this is a side point, but like, I know it's a Data story, but don't you think, like, don't they have other missions or other things that are important, and they're just like, we have to figure this out? Like, wouldn't they just take a shuttlecraft or something like that? Isn't the Enterprise needed and more important things?
On top of the fact that they do point out, like Data does point out at some point, this doesn't necessarily happen right now. It could be 100 years in the future.
Right, exactly.
It's not pressing necessarily.
It's not just because of Data. It's that they think there might be something going on.
Well, it's because they realize that something has happened in some alien force.
Yeah, they're trying to find the Trolloc waves. So it's a good thing to do investigate because.
Oh no, it is good, but
because there's more than cholera killing people.
Yeah, they're just getting rid of bums.
They've been gone anyways.
Well, I mean, you can leave phases around to get rid of bums.
And
what's the shaver doing? Vaporize himself.
Oh yeah.
Sit down those forever.
Yeah. Yeah, the bums always get it first. So,
Lesson one, guys, never be a bum. You might get killed by something in the future.
Star Trek too. So then we got a scene with LaForge and Data. They're sitting there and discussing Data's death, and Data finds it comforting that he's going to die at some point. So he feels like he's becoming more human. And then we get a scene. They get called away to go to because they get to the planet Davidian 2. But Guinan kind of like goes like,
things are coming full circle.
Full circle, yes.
It's a Guinan get out of jail free card moment.
Yeah.
The conversation with her and Geordi, I thought was really clunky.
Just how she walks in.
It was like super exposition.
That seems like an intense conversation.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, well, this is what happened. She's like, No, I don't know. It seems like at least she could have overheard it and be like, hey, by the way.
It'd be funny if right in the second part 2 is after Riker's grilling her. It's like, you got to tell me what's going on. He's like, he's really grilling Guinan. After he leaves, that somebody else comes up and goes, that seems like an conversation.
And then she just randomly gives the information.
Yeah. Then she gives it to them, to somebody else. He's like,
she gives them the information
to somebody who doesn't know anything. Like, okay.
But don't tell Riker, though.
Yeah, right.
We got to give time for Picard to bone me in the past.
Yeah, it's strange. There's a strange relationship there. I can't.
Oh, they've definitely had sex a lot.
You think so?
Oh, definitely.
All right.
See, I never thought. This episode alone is the only one that made me think otherwise. Like, they were friends, like just old friends. And I'm like, I don't know. He seems awfully fucking concerned about her.
So, he's into her.
Yes.
When they get to the planet, they send an away team, but they leave Data out. Data doesn't like it, of course. And
the second in command always goes on the away mission since the main command can't.
And Picard says, we're going to try to cheat fate, and Data doesn't believe that.
Wouldn't you know, they need a device that'll let them slide into a different time stream, and Data's the only thing that's got it built into them.
Yeah, interesting that when they get down, Troy says that there's life here, and that she sends hundreds of humans' lives, and they're all terrified.
What about Lal? Did they just dispose of her? Do they not have her parts anymore?
I don't know.
Like, wouldn't she have one of those?
That's a good point.
Shouldn't they have one of those sitting on the Enterprise somewhere?
That'd be kind of morbid to bring his daughter into it.
Yeah.
Just take her apart.
Is she still on the Enterprise?
I mean, they deactivated her. Might as well scrap her for parts.
I give it to Starfleet, I would imagine.
Maybe.
I would think.
Maybe they did want her pretty bad.
Maybe that lawyer that was trying to measure of man, he took her.
Oh, no.
Oh, you know what he's doing.
That's a sex doll now. Poor Law.
He doesn't need the holodeck for that.
I think he's got the little. Oh, so he had the crazy eyes for Data too. He
always
he wanted to deactivate Data and make him a doll.
Yeah, I know. When they get there, LaForge can't see what's going on. Obviously, just a cavern. When he looks, there is a temporal distortion, and when what they're going to do is they're going to go take these machine to allow him put a subspace bubble around him. Around Data, should I say, because he has Data's magic, of course. He has a built-in positronic decompiler that will help him do this.
Like I said, Lal. Get Lal's...
Yeah.
Whoa. What?
There's a lot again.
Why can't they build one?
Trial like waves.
I mean, he built Law on the ship.
Again, there's a lot of Trek talk, a lot of Trek convenience.
Just like, I have this thing. Yeah. So this was
convenient. And I was okay with it.
I mean, it works, but I mean, it's just like, but it's like self-fulfilling that Data, of course, is going to get sucked into the past. So when Data goes, he puts himself on this like a 0.04 percentage to get him
time delay
to see these Davidians when he's in this force field, and he's seeing that they're digesting some like energy. Yeah. And then he sees the aliens come through the portal with the snake. This is all being rendered just by him talking, which was an interesting thing because they're all just sitting there listening to what he's saying.
Because the thing when you I remember thinking this the first time I saw this episode, I was like, are they just doing this for budgetary reasons that we're not seeing this?
Right, yeah.
But I realized it was actually for dramatic effect because it does you do eventually.
Because they're all listening to him. And then he starts breaking up because then he gets pulled away from when the snake comes to life and, the
time portal opens.
And Data wakes up on a brick street in San Francisco.
Barely change for a 49er.
Right. That's where he runs in the old 49er. I guess there's a cholera outbreak. And
spent all my gold already.
The 49er wants money, and Data realizes he has no currency. And
he hears the word poker. He's like, I can do that.
Right. So,
and Gold Ducat is one of the shark dealers. I love that.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so he goes into the poker game, wins everything, even their hats and
clothes.
Vests. Yeah, he's walking out with their clothes, which is pretty funny, too. And
I wish we could have seen the poker game. That would have been fun. Or like a fast montage of poker with Data killing them.
Some Sam Raimi cuts of just...
Yeah, and they're all like sweating. And like, what the hell? That he can just count the cards. I'm surprised they didn't try to kill him, actually.
Oh, Data would have won.
Yeah.
Oh, I know, but it's just been funny. Them attack. Maybe they did try to attack him, and that's how he got the clothes. Yeah. He ripped them to pieces. We found them all dismembered in a room.
He's a literal card shark.
Well, so Data gets
makes friends the bellhop.
Yeah, he makes friends, which is Jack London, which I thought was kind of corny. Like
it was. I did a little research, and Jack London does. I mean, he mentions he's got a lot of jobs. Jack London did have a ton of jobs. Bellhop was not one of them.
Yeah, and there's
never worked as a bellhop.
I looked into which we'll get into. Mark Twain doesn't make sense.
Oh, there's a whole lot of things that Mark Twain had issues with. Actually, I like this episode a lot. I did not like Mark Twain.
So, anyways, so the bellhop takes an interest in him, and Data is obviously gives him a whole list of stuff, and he's going to do what Spock did in City Edge and Forever, and try to
build a device out of past
technologies,
much like Doc does in Back to the Future 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Incidentally, I didn't know this, and maybe this was brought up before, but Data's left-handed. Because Brent Spiner apparently is left-handed.
I didn't know that.
He was writing his letter, and he's writing left-handed. I'm like, it seems odd they'd make an android to be left-handed. Unless he's ambidextrous, which maybe he is.
Yeah, man. Androids would be ambidextrous, I think.
Yeah. I find it odd that they'd actually write in the future.
Oh, he's in the past.
Well,
no, I know that, but
it was probably a skill set he never had to use, but it was probably built in.
Like this is how you write. But I mean, I'm just saying, it's like you think about it.
He had French built down.
He could speak French, so it might make sense. Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, it's like if you think in the future, would you actually be able to write?
Picard, I guarantee Picard can write perfect cursive.
Does. Yeah, right. Yeah, so Data's getting all his stuff from the bellhop, and then we get a quick scene with a tall woman and a gentleman with the cane, the snake cane, and they take the old 49er and they suck up his energy, and he just turns gray.
They suck his soul.
Yeah, soul suckers. So then we kind of know what they're about. Those are the human lives that are terrified. They're getting fed to the aliens. Next, we get the seniors. The staff is all together at the lounge, and they are trying to figure out how they're going to get Data back. And Picard is advised by Guinan that he has to be part of this mission,
or we'll never meet.
Right.
And fuck.
We do have an interesting Guinan doing her little drinking. I thought this is your scene.
Yeah, she's like mixing stuff. You can't. It's like the evaporating point
based on their internal body temperature.
Yeah.
Which is actually kind of a cool idea. I think
it's a cool idea, but that's really hard. You've got like how many aliens are on the ship?
Right. Like, was she making it for herself?
She drank it at the end. Maybe she was just trying to perfect how to do it.
She evaporated it though.
Yeah, but maybe she was trying to just get it. I don't know.
She's like, poof, we won't meet.
Now, incidentally, this brings up, and I won't. This is a whole podcast in itself. Is the time travel aspect of this. Was there a timeline originally where he didn't get warned to go, and they went on this way mission without him, and they never met then? Like, is it a closed loop, a time loop, where like it was always this way? Or was there a timeline where Picard doesn't go on this mission, and she doesn't warn him?
I'm assuming it always happened.
I mean, like, it's really hard for me to think of time without time loops.
Right.
Because almost every single time thing always had, like, a causality that would always make it a loop.
And that's only because you can have closure at the end of a film or a story. That's the only reason. It's convenience. Time loops are convenience for storytelling. That's all it is.
But they're also logically how they would work most of the time.
Right, but not always. And that's the thing, is that sometimes it would, if you think about it like hard enough, you're like, nah, it would have gone this way first before it got that way.
Usually, yes, but it would happen one way until it turned into a loop.
Did you watch Doctor Who at all?
Yeah, I'm a big Doctor Who fan.
So, I mean, there's a lot of time stuff that, like, what was his wife, who doesn't, like, that she's, like, they don't know certain things about the book of when they've met. And
no spoilers.
Yeah, right. It's great. It's a really cool, clever idea, because certain things they know that... Because
Doctor Who, for so about time travel, they deal with time travel probably least.
Yeah.
As far as paradoxes and all that kind of stuff. Right. They don't deal with it. They just write them off, which is fine by me, because it's a fun...
Right, but it's like, there's certain... Like, because Doctor Who jumps back and forth so much, sometimes, like, there's some stuff that happened that she knows about that he didn't experience yet.
And they're both time travelers, so they just keep running into each other at different points in time, at different points of their own lives. So they never know if...
It's the young version, the older version, like someone who's seen everything, or someone's just met him for the first time. Because there was the first time they meet. I can't remember which episode it was, but they're like, this is the first time we've met.
Yeah.
So, you don't know me.
Right.
You know, kind of thing. So it's just interesting. So
yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the way I've always thought about time travel personally is it's always a straight line until time travel happens, and it creates a loop. And it always has the loop, because it always has to happen that way for it to happen in the first place.
Right.
So, like, then you get into, like, metaphysics of, like, predestination. So the original time he went on his own accord, but, like, because we're looking at the third or fourth or sixth time it's happened, because it's a loop,
right.
Guinan reminded him or whatever, so it makes sure it'll keep happening.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Well, so Data's back on the planet, back in the past on Earth, and he's constructing his device when he sees that Guinan is in a newspaper article. And so,
which I also did some research on that. That's not a thing. They didn't have pictures in newspapers in that time. It was like another 30 years before that they had pictures.
Before they had, so it would have been like a drawing.
Yeah, it would have been like a drawing. Or they had literally at that point there were a couple, and they were of like some events. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like a portrait or anything. It was like 1930 or something like that before they had.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well,
Star Trek, get more historically accurate.
Get with it, man. But this literary reception, we have Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens. And he's out there pontificating, doing all his thing, talking, and
I like how he's like the alien, like a freak out person who's like, they're gonna kill us.
I know.
He's like the stark raving man person. When Data barges in and talks to Guinan, and Guinan doesn't know him at this point, but because he says starship, she kind of like, oh wait,
yes,
I'm an alien. I should know. Yeah,
and this is where Mark Twain, Clemens
eavesdrops
on him and hears the whole Data's story
about the Enterprise and whatnot,
and everything. So, and then our very last scene is on this episode is when they all go into this temporal distortion field where they can see the Deverans. And
which was I actually like that scene a lot. I thought it was kind of
really alien, very alien,
really creepy. Get the hole in the forehead where they're sucking the soul.
Well, when Data describes it at first, you're like, that sounds horrific.
And it kind of was.
Yeah, and then
except they're like all washed white, so you can't see ton of detail.
Yeah, which is cool because I don't know.
It would probably look bad if they would have showed a lot of detail.
But this is a neat. This affects how the lighting and everything, and it was a neat, and it kind of was creepy. It was a kind of a creepy.
It was a creepy scene, and that's when the portal opens, and they all kind of get thrown into the past.
Now, interesting that this was a two-parter, not because it was not because it was a two-parter. It was a finale. not that it was kind of a lighter-hearted episode, I think, by and large.
Besides Data's head.
Well, that was the Inner Light was the episode before that one, which would have been a perfect. It was arguably one of the best Star Trek episodes ever. Was the one right before it. That would have been a great standalone to end the season on without a cliffhanger, I thought.
Well, I feel like they did cliffhangers like the entire season, almost all the seasons.
I read too that this wasn't supposed to be a cliffhanger, but people were, because Deep Space Nine was starting, because I guess when they were filming this, they were literally filming Deep Space Nine at first episodes, the Emissary at this very moment, and there's a lot of rumors that this show is going to be canceled. So one of the reasons they made it two-parter,
so they had to go back,
that the show's continuing. Don't worry, kind of thing.
So, okay, yeah.
I don't know if that's the full reason for it, but that was one of the logic behind it.
But I mean, like, I think almost, the Best of Both Worlds season 3, at the beginning of season 4, then you had the Spock one, Unification, so going of season 4 to season 5, then seasons 5 to 6 was this one. Right. So I mean,
there's a lot of two-parters for sure.
They always did I feel like they almost always did that after the first season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
except that one time on Voyager. There was one that didn't have a cliffhanger in the middle of the series.
Well, we get to Time Zero Part 2, which is Season 6, Episode 1, and aired September 21st, 1992. So we get the beginning of this is it's 1893, and Samuel Clemens is walking in San Francisco, and a reporter's asking him all the questions, and he's kind of like giving kind of an exposition that there's time travelers or aliens or something.
Oh, so this is your new book, right?
It's like, which I want to get into that a little bit too, because it's kind of, I don't know, it's weird that they used him. I don't.
This whole episode points to me to be a little Prime Directive-ish.
Yeah, a little
in
temporal time directive, at least.
But they do nothing to address it.
No, they're just like...
And they don't even but even in Voyager, we don't have any rules of what the temporal prime directive is. No. They just say it over and over again. But I'm like, what is it?
Right.
And we've got so little information on the actual prime directive.
Interject you real quick, and I apologize. I've been listening to your prime directive episodes. I just started listening to a couple months ago you were doing.
Okay, yeah.
And I love prime directive debates. And I want... Listen to the two of you, especially you, David, because you sound like you're the defense lawyer for someone who's probably guilty.
That's me. If you need a defense lawyer, call David Duncan of Synthaholics.
Have you violated a prime directive? I'm your guy.
Michael Cohen of... That's hilarious.
So I would love that show, just a debate show, which is what you guys basically did, but on a more expansive scale of...
Well, we wanted to understand it. That's why we took all the episodes that we could find and compile them to talk about each one and see, first of all, was the prime directive broken, and what is the prime directive?
Yeah, Aaron was way more forgiving.
100%. Well, I just think I would love to see. Okay, we have a set of laws.
Right.
This person, as if each of these episodes you're talking about is being presented in court at Starfleet. Mm-hmm. And here's the defense. Here's the
collaboration with Film Dumpster. Let's do it.
That would be funny. That would be really funny. And get voice actors to play Picard and Kirk.
Do it on film.
Yeah. Well, that'd be more expensive. All right. So, like I said, Samuel Clemens is talking about the whole thing. Then we get Riker dressed in a cop uniform, Crusher in a nurse uniform, and they're in the morgue.
I think I can manage.
And, well, no, this is before that.
Yeah,
but there's supposed to be a cholera outbreak, and she's like, none of these people died of cholera. And then she realized...
Chlamydia outbreak.
Chlamydia. They died of chlamydia. People have been fucking. So, anyways...
What else is there to do out in the Old West?
I don't know. Look for gold, I guess.
Oh, but apparently dried up. That 49er was begging.
They were. He fell down a mine, which doesn't make any sense either, because 49ers normally didn't go in mines. They were just...
No, this is shallow water.
Yeah, it was just water, just panning for gold. That's all it was.
I fell in that shallow water. Hurt my back.
My tailbone cracked.
Oh, it was too shallow. It didn't break my fall enough.
Those rocks.
Right at my butthole.
I slipped on a salmon. So, anyways,
then a bear attacked me.
All right, let's move on. So she said that their electrical chemical energy has been drained from their brains, or their neurological,
or their soul, whatever.
They're dead. Anyway, so that's interesting. And next we find they're in this apartment, and Crusher's telling everything to Picard, and that's when we get
landlady comes in.
Miss Carmichael. Miss Picard.
Mr. Picard.
It was Pickard, wasn't it?
Pickard.
Yeah.
Pickard. Yeah, Mr. Pickard. I be needing the rent. And
We didn't see how they made money. Did they also play poker?
They jumped into the hospital for opening scene.
I love it that they are completely out of their element and they cannot live in our day and age where they can't make money.
This was the closest to Voyage Home that Next Generation got.
Yeah. And I like it that you have these future people who are, smart, brilliant, but then they can't just make it through daily life.
But Data figures it out.
Well, Data's a robot.
No, but Data's like the least socially advanced person of them all. He's like, oh, I'll just gamble my money back. What?
Right.
I don't know. I just wanted to see them all like steal clothes.
That's mugging. My first thought was mugging. That's how they got everything.
Well, but off clotheslines like Kirk and Spock did, and it's Ninja Forever. They just like, oh, look, let's steal some clothes. And then the police comes in, and then they have to beat him up. So Riker has something to wear.
That's right. Yeah. There's a lot of naked policemen running around out there.
Lots of them in Star Trek.
So, anyways,
hopefully, he left his long johns.
That'd be nice, but chafing without the underwear. Oh no,
it's all wool too.
But he's got the state. Yeah, he's got the space age underwear. So.
He's got space underwear,
so he doesn't need it.
Space wedgies.
So back at the hotel, Clemens gets Jack London to let him into Data's room. Terrible bellboy, by the way.
The worst bellboy.
And he locks in, and then he takes one of the elements from his invention and hides into like the wardrobe
because he hears a guy and Data
show up, and then of course they discover him that he's been hiding and listening to him. And
this is dangerous to humans if they hold it for too long.
And
rumble.
So, but basically, Clemens thinks that they're up to no good, and
I'm going to prove it too.
Dagnabbit!
You and your kids and your time travel.
Mark Twain's kind of a dick in this.
Yeah. He is.
He's the UFO conspiracy guy.
He is a bit, isn't he?
He's like aliens.
Which he played Deep Throat on X-Files.
The actor?
Yeah, he was Deep Throat.
I did not recognize him.
I'm in research. Yeah.
I didn't recognize him.
I mean, such Clemens makeup that it's hard you would never tell.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good makeup, though.
Wow.
And his daughter played Jan on The Office.
Really?
Nice.
Yeah. His love interest, yeah.
That's weird. Oh, that's awesome. I wanted to look about him, but I was like too much other things to look into, so I kind of like,
yeah.
I was like, just a Mark Twain impersonator.
Yeah.
But no, he did. I thought he did a pretty fun job of being Mark Twain.
He looked like he was. To me, it was like he was doing like a local.
Yeah,
like one man,
like theater, like local theater kind of thing. Yeah.
Maybe that's where they picked him up.
He probably hit a run at some point.
Yeah, I bet you he did. I mean, in the makeup, I know it's 90s makeup. It looks a little corny, but it's okay. Yeah. It does.
It holds up well enough.
Yeah, but you can tell it's makeup, for sure. So,
well, especially in HD.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, you couldn't.
Yeah, old time TVs, right? So Clemens is kind of like trying to figure out what's going on with them. Next, we have Crusher. She's at the infirmary, and that's when the two aliens show up. Riker shows up. Oh, I'm sorry. Just before that, they're set up like an alien alarm.
Right.
That goes off.
Yeah, Picard's up there. I'm getting us ready for earthquake. We haven't had an earthquake in a long time. Picard's like, yeah, getting ready to have one in a year or two.
Don't worry.
Don't worry. It'll happen again.
And this will do nothing for you.
Not at all.
He said it would save us.
It's just an LED.
But they left that there, right?
Yeah.
This future technology sitting in this lamp post thing for.
So yeah,
Somebody
will be taken apart. Like, what the hell is this?
Well, I mean, the voyage home. There's tons of time. They leave a phaser, Chekhov's phaser, and his communicator, and whatever else futuristic Chekhov had on him.
And they invented, the
transparent aluminum.
Transparent aluminum.
Yeah. At least Scotty was like, yeah, maybe he invented it.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah. There's a lot. I think Voyage Home was even worse for time contamination than this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Because at least in this episode, they would probably thrown it away because they didn't know what to do with it.
But just one line of dialogue at some point being like, we got to make sure we cover our tracks would have been sufficient.
It's been sufficient to say, let's take these down before we get out of here or something like that. Yeah. Well, whatever. But
they definitely didn't do it in Voyage Home. And that's the time where they would have definitely...
They would have left the Bird of Prey there if they could have. They would have just left it sitting in the middle of the field, of the park.
Yeah, right.
No, but someone would have tried to reverse engineer the phaser and the communicator without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. That was going to happen.
And I think they were Klingon.
They were Klingon.
So that would have totally changed how... I can't wait till we talk about
There's
Voyage
no stuns on those bad billies.
Yeah, we never talked about Voyage Home, have we?
Oh, he was trying to stun the guy.
Yeah. But the nuclear...
the radiation.
Radiation or something.
Really, radiation's going to stop your phaser from working.
I know. Well, it's Klingon.
It emits radiation.
But Klingon design, so maybe it's shitty. Or maybe it's never been...
But Klingons probably leak radiation to ships all the time. I mean, I feel like the Klingons are like Reavers on Firefly. They don't seal anything up real good. There's radiation leaks all the time.
They're all dying of cancer.
Then most definitely. A warrior's death.
Those ridges aren't natural.
Yeah. It's just tumors on their brains.
Well, I mean, they got them removed after the augment virus. They just unshielded their ship's cores and started growing them back.
Just put your head against the nacelles.
Yeah, just rub your head against some sandpaper for a while.
So, like I said, the aliens show up, and they're going to take this guy who's dying, and that's when, Crusher kind of confronts them. Just when that happens, too, Data's thing goes off. His little, alarm thing goes off, and he comes rushing on us with the stagecoach. Where the hell did he get a stagecoach?
Well, he won it in a poker game.
I guess.
I'm a taxi driver.
And that's, Riker comes in. And they start. No, it was Geordi who punches out the one alien, right?
I think so.
Wasn't it Geordi?
I don't remember.
Anyways, they grab the cane. Geordi grabs the cane.
Riker did the Hassan chop to the cop's neck.
Yeah, when the cop shows up later, he says there was two people.
It was a palm to the nose.
Yeah. He crushes septum into his brain and kills him.
I totally respect the law, except for you. You're dead.
I just want to know. I'm going to make orphans of your children.
Maybe he was gay. Maybe he'll be...
He wasn't having any kids?
That's the new temporal time prime directive. You can only kill people who are not going to spawn.
Yeah, right.
And so they have the first point of they're always going to go to
all the gay bash.
Well, maybe that gay police officer saved somebody that was going to be like Einstein or something.
I don't know. Who knows? Oh well.
Guess we don't.
Judith Keeler.
What?
Edith Keeler.
Judith.
I was combining the names.
Whoa.
Kind of like Harry Wang.
Harry Wang. All right, so Data shows up in the carriage as they're making a break for it because they just punched out the cop. All the cops are racing after him, and they all get on and they take off.
It'd be great if Data had acquired a whole Stagecoach taxi business as part of his card shark empire.
It'd be funny because he doesn't need to sleep.
Right.
He just keeps going,
and if they're all souped up, they're all steampunked.
Yeah. He's got all his devices and stuff.
He's got a thriving business going on.
Yeah, right.
And everyone else is I don't know how to make money for the landlady.
So back at the apartment, LaForge figures out with the phaser you can kind of get the cane thing to turn into its snake and form, so it comes to life for a moment. And
good CGI, I thought, for the time period.
This was it
was a good effect. Yeah.
I think that was one of the first time they ever did anything like that for Star Trek, and it was a new tech for it at that time.
Well, they did CGI holograms in the early episodes of Next Gen, and then they stopped doing them.
Right.
Which I was really surprised. They made the effect where the liquid disappeared when Ginun was messing with the pH balance in it or whatever. Because I was that was a neat effect for. Yeah. I didn't remember that happening. So cool.
Obviously, Miss Carmichael shows up again.
It was a fun scene.
You could beat Tanya.
Yeah,
I like when Deanna turns Geordi's book upside down.
Yeah.
Or turns her right side up.
It was fun. It was a fun little scene.
Why is he looking at a book with words? Shouldn't he be using Braille? Whatever.
Yeah, no. So there was a little. I don't know what you want to call it, levity or something like that through the story. That whole thing with Miss Carmichael could have been thrown away. It really didn't need to be put in.
But you know what, though? You don't get to see Patrick Stewart kind of play that on that show a lot, so it was actually fun to see.
It was a little fun just to see that.
It was fun, but not necessary.
Yeah, definitely not necessary.
You know who wasn't necessary? It was Mark Twain. That's who wasn't necessary in the show.
Well, at the very end, he is needed, because somebody has to stay behind.
That's true. But it could have been anybody.
It could have been anybody. Could have been Jack London.
It could have been Ginun.
Yeah. Could have been.
Let's spin Ginun apart some more. Part of her's in the Nexus. Part of her's in the past.
Anyways, so back at the
that would have been great in Generations. He goes back in time and gets Jack London.
So outside the hospital, that's where Clemens hears about the the attack on the police.
I'm sure they did.
That's them. Of course, he knows it's them.
Them UFOs.
He says, it's my God, it's an invasion.
It's an invasion. There's 6 of them? How many are there? He chases them down with a revolver and his monocle.
Right, exactly. So they make their way back to the caverns where they originally found Data's head, and this is where they are going to try to activate the cane and get themselves back into the present or the 24th century.
But the 2 aliens have tracked them down.
Yes. They track him down, and
so is Mark Twain.
Mark Twain tracks him down as well. So
he's got the tracking skills of a futuristic alien. Yeah.
Detective Mark Twain.
I know he's pretty old at this point too, because he only died. I think he dies maybe 10 years later. So it'd be like
they intentionally set the time frame so that Mark Twain would literally have no chance of really taking this information and doing something with it.
I want to get into that just a little bit too, because it's very interesting that they used him because it makes no damn sense.
Right.
Because wouldn't he write a story about this?
The one person who's one of the most
prolific writers.
American writers in history.
Right. Yeah. So the whole thing where Data explodes, unfortunately, and
it just
his head
just
flying off.
goes right off.
And that's
that's some good head.
Stop. So the aliens show up as well, and they open the portal. They all start jumping through, but when Data does explode, obviously Guinan is thrown back, and she seems to be hurt, and Picard stays behind to help her. And everyone runs through. Even
Samuel
Clemens runs as well through this.
You're on Davidian 2. You're not supposed to be here.
Mm-hmm. And they're back on Davidian 2. They get all beamed up. And this is where
I'm on a spaceship.
I'm on a spaceship. Can I have a cigar? No, you can't have a cigar.
We don't have those here.
Actually, she offers him a
replicated one.
So
he's like, that won't be as good.
Like he knows.
Like, yeah, what would you know? It's like,
would
stop.
you know?
I don't understand how a replica would not, would not be just as good. It's just the molecules.
Given the technology they present to us, it should be perfect.
Pretty
should
close.
Be fun.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Well, anyways.
But, a funny thing was, I remember her being meaner to him than she was, and she's just kind of talking
very
about the
patient.
past. She's a lot more patient. I thought she was meaner because, I remember in A Fistful of Datas, which is only a couple episodes later in season 6.
Yeah, she's smoking a cigar.
She's smoking a cigar in the Wild West. I'm like, Samuel Clemens did rub off on you.
Yeah.
Now you know what you're missing. Because she was like, we don't need to do that here. We don't need cigars. And she's like, we're smoking a couple episodes later. It's hilarious.
Well, So, like you said, Troy's walking around with Troy, calling Worf a werewolf. And back in San Francisco, back in the past, Guinan wakes up in Picard's arms, and they have a little moment there. So,
do I know you?
Do I know you?
You will.
You will.
Intimately.
And then we have the 10 forward. Riker is obviously having an intense conversation with Guinan. And
what am I supposed to do? Do I leave him?
I can't. Yeah, right.
Am I supposed to bomb him?
Stone cold bitch.
She won't tell him.
She didn't even. She just stopped talking.
She won't. Yeah.
I just don't understand. There's nothing she could have done that would have hurt the outcome if she knew what the outcome was supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
That's the dumbest time to shut up. I mean, she's the only one trying to uphold the typical prime directive.
All that was just to actually make tension in the writing so that they would blow up.
Right.
Shoot the torpedoes.
Yeah, because you wouldn't know what to do. At what point? Yeah, because she told Picard what to do.
Right.
She got to go. You have to go on the away mission.
but she won't tell Riker
anything.
because they haven't slept together. Yeah. It's different when you.
Yeah, and then we have the whole thing with Troy and Clemens and saying that the door's open. I can't even hold a door for a lady. Simple pleasures of life and stuff like that. And she makes us great things as that they've eliminated poverty, and we lost a lot of things that came along with poverty. And I think it makes up for it. So
and he has this quick turnaround, which is really weird for the guy that's been so pessimistic and shit. He doesn't get any proof.
Well, he thinks
just the entire Earth could have been decimated for all he knows.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's like, a Bolian walks by, he's all blue, and he says that
he's a slave.
He's a slave for you. He's like, no, he's not. And I think I like that he's
racist.
Oh well,
he is a slave. He cuts people's hair.
Racist.
He cuts people's hair for no money. Yeah. He is a slave.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but he also has access to everything in the Federation if he wants. But my
slave. Slave of cutting people's hair. That's where he's going.
He can quit anytime he wants.
And there's another bullion ready to go.
Maybe he enjoys cutting hair, Dave.
Because he doesn't have any yet.
He's like a house elf in Harry Potter.
Exactly. Don't give him any clothes.
The wonderful thing about Star Trek is that if you really want to do something, nobody's going to say no to you.
Exactly.
As long as you do it competent enough.
Professional masturbator.
Unless you're... unless you're... I was going to say unless you're Wesley Crusher. They're not going to let you touch a fucking
Well, then he just disappears with some strange alien that wants to diddle him.
You know, everyone's got their thing.
Well, you know.
A professional diddly.
Different strokes for different folks. Okay, so we get that whole thing with Troy and Clemens. Then we get the whole thing where the Riker decides that he's going to go after Picard, and then everyone disagrees with him.
You can't do that. You'll get stuck there.
That's what I was talking about. He's got his fucking heart on for.
But he's technically captain,
right?
And they're like, no, we have to destroy it right now. And they're like, well, okay. You are the worst captain ever.
He is. It's always Worf. It's always like, we got to shoot it now.
He's like,
kill it, make it dead.
Maybe we should kill it.
But he's like, maybe if I appeal to Worf, maybe he'll like
who was
me.
it? Was it Troy or was it Dr. Crusher that was like, no, we have to. He's right. One of them.
It was Troy. Troy agreed with him. He's like, yeah, we should do it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was strange, too, that Troy was like, yeah, let's do it.
She's trying to get on his good side because they do date later.
I guess.
She's got to ride those two Klingon dicks. Yeah. But back on the planet, back on Earth, next to Guinan and Kirk. I mean, not Kirk.
It'd be awesome if Kirk showed up.
Kirk
Don't worry, Picard, I got this.
Kirk walked in with Edith Keeler. No, but Picard checks on the alien. And the alien's he's like,
he says, we're going to destroy your thing.
And she's like, oh, you're going to mess up Earth really bad if you destroy it.
It'll have a cascading effect. It'll destroy your timeline and everything here as well. And he's like, oh, shit. So he decides to put an iron filing.
But he programs like binary into Data's head somehow.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't remember him being good at
that
science.
Good.
Not, especially in 1893 without any real means of doing it, right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong about that? He did.
I imagine he had some time in that cave. I got the impression they were kind of stuck in that cave because he wasn't just like, there was an explosion and nobody came looking for him.
Yeah. Oh, maybe.
I don't understand how that cave was nobody found. Like that head was just like in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, it was in the middle of the floor. It was but how did nobody find it when Samuel Clemens found it?
Yeah,
that doesn't make any sense.
So, like you said, he sends a message. During that whole time, Geordi's trying to get Data back up online. He reattaches the head.
Yeah, can I? There's another thing two things I had an issue with that. First of all, was it a clean cut? How did he attach it so easily?
Yeah, it's Star Trek. It's the future.
Well, I know, but I don't.
I feel like his head just kind of pulls off. Like
is that what it was?
His arms pull off.
His head come off before, but was it popped off or was it sliced off?
It looked like it was popped off because it shot off.
Okay.
It didn't it was like an explosion. His head just kind of like shot off.
And secondly, why did he keep him in his 19th century clothing to reattach his head?
Yeah,
you could
just too much time to cut off his clothes.
I don't know. You'd think at one point,
yeah, triage people. They cut things right off.
Exactly.
You're naked. Yeah, that's a good point. Should have cut that shit off. Anyway,
I guess Prince Spiner didn't want to go full
nude for that one.
He put him in some sort of tunic or something to. I don't know.
Yeah, it would have make way more sense. So
he just didn't feel like changing clothes for that scene.
It was probably a scheduling thing. Like, I'm still in. Let's just shoot this now.
Well, they're shooting something else probably where he was in it. So
you're probably right. Yeah.
So when Data revives, he has like torpedoes, phasing, aliens, and he's like he's getting the message,
processing, getting the message.
So it's strange too. I looked up iron if it has like it can be like a conductive. It's not really conductive. I guess it's just it can have electricity through it because the lattice of the metal can hold like electrons in it, but it's not really good for that.
Well, they said it was causing an intermittent thing, so it was interfering.
But how did he do torpedoes?
I don't know.
For the same reason that all the other Star Trek babble happened earlier in the
trial.
But how does he like program it? Because remember, Data's not just like Data. Data's got all those like scientists that died with him on the planet he was found. He's got their entire consciousness as part of his own consciousness.
And I'm assuming most of like the Federation like libraries is stored in his brain,
right?
And Law, he absorbed all of Law into himself.
Yeah.
All of his experiences, and this one string of binary somehow comes to the forefront just from Picard diddling the back of his head. Like, I don't. That's really a stretch.
Anyways.
Well, it goes back to the old like school, like Back to the Future 2, or end of Back to the Future 1, Back to the Future 2, where he writes a letter.
Right.
And it gets to him with Western Union, or Quantum Leap, where Sam and Al switch bodies back in like 1955 or whatever it was, or 1940. It was in the 40s.
Right.
And he literally mails a letter
to
Gushi in the future, and the door opens up, and like it's that same concept of sending a message to the future.
Right, and it gets.
They just had a way to get it do it. It doesn't make any sense. He wasn't going to mail a letter.
Right.
So.
Right. It'd be funny if a mailman showed up. It's like a junky mail ship, like U.S. mail.
The Millennium Falcon shows up.
He's like I have a letter for a Mr. Data.
That's impossible.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my god. All right. So then,
but the ink is dissolved. It's 500-year-old. Oops.
Yeah, right, exactly. Exactly. So they discussed that this would have a catastrophic effect if the torpedoes were fired. So LaForge is going to refit the torpedoes with some phase discriminators. So they blow up and...
That fixes it.
Well, yeah, don't you? I'm not sure why you're... Yeah. What's a confusion, man? Understand?
Star Trek magic. Anyways, at that time...
Spock is lost.
Riker says yes. Red matter.
Red pulsars.
Yeah.
Romulus.
Riker says that he's going to go back and try to get the captain, but Crusher says that the phaser will probably work, but the rift will only be open for one person, and that's when Clemens says, well, that'd be a perfect person for me to do a mission for me, a wave mission for me. And
I don't belong here. I still got books to write.
Yeah, you do.
About the Enterprise and how Troy's bum looks when she walks to a door that opens by itself.
I can't open it. So Clemens decides, he thanks Data and says that I'm sorry, that I misjudged you. And then back on Earth...
Still think his turnaround was really quick.
It totally was.
He's not a complete asshole.
No, but he had no proof. Everyone was saying, we're good. But Troy says it. He's like, yep, I believe you.
Because it's Troy.
Low cut.
Yeah.
It's
foxy lady.
Boobs do the talking.
She could tell me anything. Yeah, so...
I can attest, in real life, that's true. Because she could have said anything to me, like, all right,
sure, I believe it. That's when back on Earth, in the past, Picard's down there with Guinan, and that's when Clemens enters and says that he was in the middle of Market Street.
Put me in Market Street. I had to talk to that bum again.
It's like when Marty got sent. He ended up back in. He had to get to Twin Pines Mall, but he was all the way downtown.
Yeah, he had to run all the way down there. Yeah, strange.
No. Turn your phaser McCulloch to this many gigawatts and shoot the cane.
Yeah, exactly. So
I'll take care of Guinan. I'll pay for the hotel. I'll take down the little thing you put on the...
Guinan says, I'll see you in 500 years, and Picard says, I'll see you in a few minutes.
I'll see you in a couple minutes.
And so he goes, opens the rift. Riker's about to shoot the torpedoes.
He does shoot the torpedoes.
At the last minute. Yeah, there's there's a
human life
distortion.
And a human life sign.
Right.
How long does it take torpedoes to get there, by the way?
I should have taken seconds.
Right.
I think torpedoes travel at warp, so not even seconds. It's like they're fired and they're gone.
Right. Yeah, and they were literally on synchronous orbit above the spot where it's happening. So it's just fired.
It should have been instantaneous, but they had a good 30 seconds to beam them up.
Yeah.
Well, torpedoes very.
And there was a conversation. It was, Commander, I found life force, and it was a whole. Before he said Commander, they probably should have been there.
Well, I mean, if you look at exactly, they should have detonated already. Because if you look at Generations, and Sauron's got that rocket on the planet, and he shoots the sun. It hits the sun 2 seconds.
Right.
It takes 8 minutes for light to hit the Earth. That's at warp 1.
Right.
That little rocket somehow went warp 16 into the sun.
Maybe they're very high off the planet.
That could be too. Yeah, we don't know how close they are.
Well, anyway, so O'Brien beams up Picard. Picard's all safe, and then obviously the target's destroyed, and they get out of that planet system, and Picard goes back to see Guinan, and they have a nice little.
I would have liked to have seen them meet, or that been referenced a little bit more.
how they met,
because it's important. It's kind of important to their little mini storyline as how they.
And we don't know anything really.
We don't know nothing about how they met.
We don't know anything about their mini story. She's like I said, she's this constant get out of jail free card that Star Trek Next Generation has. You need something mysterious, Guinan.
Right.
We're not going to explain it ever.
How is she still in the Nexus? I'm like an afterthought. Okay,
how is she still in
I guess. Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah.
How is Q scared of her? How can she put up any kind of fight against Q? If she can, if the Elorians can put up a fight against Q, why did they get killed by the Borg? I mean, there's so many things that don't make sense about Guinan and her
We don't
race.
know much about them.
I've read a handful of Star Trek books, but nothing. I've never read anything. Have there been books about Guinan?
I don't know if there's any books. I mean, there's
Sure.
probably like books that have Guinan in it, but I don't know if they really
just about Guinan. I don't know.
Yeah,
but it doesn't make a lot of sense.
That sounds like a one-off episode in the future.
Yeah,
the Guinan Files.
You have Guinan.
Sounds like you're from the doctor.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jeff. You have Guinan.
You have caloric Guinan. Oh my god. How long do I have, Doctor?
And the episode wraps up. Clemens is down in the cave. Guinan's getting taken away, and he picks up his watch, and then he's like, yeah,
I'll leave it here.
And Data's head's there, left in the middle of the cavern.
No one decides to check it out.
Hey, there's a head here.
It's just a mannequin.
Did he keep his watch when they gave it to
No,
him?
he put it back.
No. When they gave him his 500-year-old watch.
Well, he picked it up from the Enterprise. He tacked it and then put it back.
Oh, he did. Okay.
So it's like a 10,000. It's a 1,000-year-old watch.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah.
Because if you picked it up and put it back.
Was that the original watch, though? Which was the original watch?
Well, they picked up his watch.
Right.
From
Yeah, but they
500
gave
years
him
old.
his watch. He took the watch. He's like, oh, my watch. And he's like, it probably doesn't work anymore.
Exactly. So
Was that the one he was almost put down again, then?
No, that was the same one that he dropped originally. Oh,
When did he drop that original one, though?
No,
That was during the explosion when Data exploded.
But he picked up the watch, and I think he kept it in the lab. He was like, "Oh, it's my watch." He was like,
Yeah, he did.
And then he goes back into the cave and puts it down.
No, I think that's the same watch, except it's from the past. He had two watches
Oh, he did
at that point, and he realized he had. And he's like, "No, let's leave that one here." So
Because that'd be funny if it becomes a 1,000-year-old watch
Right.
and then a
It's definitely over, right?
1,500-year-old watch
I
and a
think.
2,000-year-old watch. Because every time he picks it up and he brings it back and he puts it, it's another 500 years old. It's 500 years older every single time that loop happens.
So, Jeff, you're a guest. What did you think about Time Zero? I know you said you're a fan of time travel.
I am. I like this episode because it's kind of fun. It's a little closer to a fun episode than Star Trek.
It's more of an adventure.
Yeah. And time travel's always fun.
And there's no real message behind it or
No.
anything. Just going in the past.
It's mysteries. Time travel mysteries are always fun. I wish they'd dealt with the aspect of screwing up time a little bit more. Like, hey, we took the most prolific writer in the history of America and took him out of the future and sent him back and did nothing to address that whatsoever.
Right.
And they screwed up less. Again, the little thing Picard left in the lamp.
Who knows how many other they left around
Right.
town? Because that's the only one we saw.
Well, Data's whole mechanism back at the hotel.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
there.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
I
mean-
wish they would address that. That to me, that's more interesting to me than anything else.
Yeah.
But they don't address any of that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And some of the best time travel stories, and I've read a lot of short stories from the early turn of the century and up to the 50s, are horror based. Really, they're scary. There was a movie called The ABCs of Death.
Never seen it.
It was a short. It was 24 short stories, each based on an alphabet, and all horror. But T was time travel, and it's a short time. It's a horror. It's scary. Time travel to me, at its best, is scary.
Why would it be scary?
Because if it's a scenario of you're walking down the street and you suddenly see yourself walking down the street, you see a different version, a future version of yourself, you'd be scared shitless.
I don't know if I'd be scared by that. I'd be more intrigued.
Especially if it's at night.
At night would be weird.
Yeah.
If you're just like you see yourself staring at yourself from like across the street or
Right.
something. That would be creepy.
Yeah, so those to me are more interesting time travel stories.
Right.
And they didn't deal with any paradox stuff, but it's still a fun story.
Yeah, for sure.
I like
for
this
sure.
episode.
Dave?
Yeah, I always liked Time Zero. I always thought it was a fun episode. I always thought it was fun that Mark Twain showed up randomly in Star Trek for reasons, I guess. They're fun two-parters. It's fun having, they're like, oh no, is Data going to live or die? Like, they kind of did the same thing with Best of Both Worlds. Oh, is Picard going to be gone forever, It's kind of fun when they got to play with that. And on a two-parter, you don't know, especially when it's a gap.
Right.
It's like maybe they might do something like that. Who knows what they're going to do with
And
it?
finding a 500-year-old head of Data in itself is a great
teaser.
place to start.
Great
Yeah.
teaser. Right in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's probably maybe the most brilliant part of that whole episode.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just that beginning, like, what the heck is that?
At least,
Especially for Star Trek.
right? Yeah.
It's not like a horror movie or anything.
Right,
like that.
exactly. When you find lore and you find what with it the last
B4?
no, the last Next Gen film.
Nemesis.
Nemesis.
Before.
Anyway,
Before.
That's right. Yeah.
Before,
when
the retarded version of Data.
Hey, buddy. Hey, I know how to do math. 1 6 7.
That wasn't a big deal because it's we know there's other versions of him out there.
Yeah.
It kind of was because they never mentioned it, and all of a sudden there's a before. Technically, lore came first, so.
But they at least established
he killed everybody.
At least there was some precedent to that, so it wasn't a huge, But this was like, he's missing 500 years old. That's cool. It's a cool little mystery. I like it. I wish you had kept it more of a mystery. To be honest with you.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like that stuff.
What about you, Aaron?
It is a great adventure, two-parter. The idea that, like you said, finding Data's head. I love that idea, and the idea that aliens. So I think I read somewhere that this is. The aliens Ginun's race, the Allurians contacting and being on, that would be the earliest version in canon where aliens had contact Earth people.
Oh, interesting.
So in Star Trek canon, that's what I read about.
I like the fact that I liked that for a little nanosecond we're back on Earth in San Francisco. There's been never enough episodes.
Why is it always San Francisco?
It's where Starfleet's located.
I know, but.
It's the only place on Earth ever.
Because that's
in all of time.
That's where they have the sets, like the painted sets made already.
I guess, but a couple things. So I just want to get into the Mark Twain. So in case people don't know Mark Twain, if you're listening to
this. He wrote a book once, I think.
He wrote a couple books, yeah. So he was...
Racist books.
Not necessarily racist.
Implied racism.
Yeah.
So Samuel Clemens was born 1835, died 1910. Obviously, his pen name's Mark Twain, and he wrote a ton of books. He wrote The Gilded Age, Prince and the Pauper, Connecticut Yankee, and King Arthur's Court, The American Clement, Pudd'nhead Wilson, Personal Recollections of Joan of Arc, A Horse's Tale, which has got to be interesting, and The Mysterious Danger. Now, he did do, obviously, Tom Sawyer and all those, but those were kind of like short stories, and they were like a continuing story. So there's there's stories where he's like he's a detective in certain points where he's like finding out murder mysteries and stuff.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's why they used him in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, right. Because he shows up. It's like a series. It's like kind of like a pulp series kind of thing. Interesting enough, and I don't know if you know this, Dave, because you're not a native here, that Mark Twain lived in Buffalo for a while here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he back in 1870 he lived in Buffalo to 1871, and he was a writer for the Buffalo Express newspaper.
Wasn't he the editor at one point as well?
Yeah, he was editor and writer, and he his wife. Olivia, she was from Elmira, New York, which is not far from here, very close, and they would go back and forth between Elmira and Connecticut after he left Buffalo, and he's buried. His whole family and Mark Twain's buried in Elmira. So, and you can visit his house where
his manuscripts are in the Buffalo Library.
Library.
Wow!
There's a whole Mark Twain section at the library.
So anyways, and he had a rough time. I guess his son died here of diphtheria. His kids all, only one lived long enough. A lot of them died very early. So they all...
Aliens.
Yes. Right?
That's why he's an alien conspiracist.
Here's the issue with Mark Twain. So, showing up. So this is the thing. So Mark Twain, brilliant writer, but terrible with money. Had tons of problems with money. Mark Twain apparently he was very rich from his writing, so he was intrigued with technology and inventions and stuff like that. So he did this. He invested $300,000, which was basically $8 million in today's money, into something that's.
Snake oil?
No, it was like linotype. It was similar to that. It was for printing presses, and it was too clunky, the technology that he did, and linotype took over right afterward, and it was a much better. It's like he invested in the beta instead of VHS kind of thing. So and he lost a lot, and he a substantial portion of his wife's inheritance as well. So they were in hard times. During that time, so that was between 1880 and 1894. So during this time, he was broke.
Was he in San Francisco?
No. So this is where we're going to get into this. So they closed down their house in Hartford, Connecticut, because of their income, and because one of their daughters were sick, they were stayed in Europe quite often. And during this time, during 1893, they stayed mainly in Florence, Italy, and in Paris. So, and Mark Twain did return to New York City a couple times, 4 times for his business problems, but he took a very cheap room at the time, which is $1.50 per day, which is like $41 a day. So he was living living really cheap.
Yeah.
So, and his financial problems were fixed. He made friends with somebody from Standard Oil, some guy named Henry Rogers, and he told him to file for bankruptcy. And then he put all his intellectual properties to his wife, so he wouldn't get sued for his intellectual properties, and then people wouldn't take his books from him, stuff like that, to the rights for his books. And he got him steered clear of all those issues, financial issues, before his life ended. So, so technically. Yeah, could he be in San Francisco? Maybe, but probably not.
So really, it could have been absolutely... Because the fact that he was Mark Twain, or in this case, Sam Clemens, was not relevant to the storyline whatsoever.
And it could have taken place in New York City.
Also true.
It would have made more sense if it was in New York City.
Right, because...
Yeah, if they wanted to have Mark Twain in it. But if he's traveling to Europe on the regular, I mean, it probably wouldn't cost much more to travel
the boat ride
country.
Across the East Coast to Europe, which is a long way, of course... But a train ride across the United States is even longer.
And probably more expensive.
Far more expensive and more time consuming. So at that time. So
get the Pony Express. You took that.
My ass is hurting me. So so I just thought I wanted to throw those couple things about Mark Twain because
that's interesting.
I
think he also smoked really cheap cigars too. And I think he made fun of his friends for smoking expensive ones, and he would switch out.
So you didn't want replicate cigars. You'd think he'd be a little less choosy then.
Right. Well, I mean, and Havana back then probably was nothing. He said there was no embargo on Cuba. There was communism was just a thought probably. So so anyways, I enjoyed this episode a lot, and I think there are some obviously huge glaring problems with it. Issues.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that's fun, but don't think too hard about it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this is the one that turn your brain off.
You look at First Contact was a much better example of them addressing time travel issues.
Right,
yes.
Exactly.
Which is really what it was all about.
In some ways, right.
Yeah, they really didn't no temporal prime. I don't think we hear about temporal prime directive until
Deep Space Nine. Well,
Voyager.
And sort of Enterprise.
There is no Bible for this anymore for the Prime Directive? There's no...
So technically...
I can't find a lot of information. I mean, they say it's there, but I don't think they ever mention any hard rules. Like with the Prime Directive, we've got non-interference. We've got a couple rules, and then they allude to there being 47 subsections of the Prime Directive.
But I've always seen it as the difference between murder one and manslaughter and misdemeanors and felonies, where...
you hit somebody with your car is different than you stab somebody in the heart.
Yeah, Kirk... I think accidentally violates Prime Directive a lot, so maybe those are less of and not that anyone gets in trouble for this ever, but should they?
Right. No, I mean, not to my knowledge has there ever been any hard, fast, really detailed.
I enjoyed your analogy of it being like a sex.
Yeah.
Of it, you don't have sex with a minor.
Yeah. Right.
Until they're of age.
Yeah.
I always saw it as the dinosaurs. Say there was an advanced post-warp. Civilization that was happening around when the comet was coming to Earth about to wipe out the dinosaurs, and they stopped it because they didn't want these poor creatures to die.
Yeah,
and they did. That would have changed the course of our history.
Well, no, the dinosaurs escaped and went to the Delta Quadrant.
That's what happened.
They did in Voyager.
Yeah,
strangely enough. Yeah, no, it's. I don't know.
we did that episode a long time ago,
really? And I got to listen to that.
That's a very long time ago, and it's probably
we called that. I think everyone did the dinosaur.
Yeah. No, but. I mean, it's always an issue, Dear Doctor.
Now I really want to see the episode.
Dear Doctor, we grappled with the idea, but that was before. But that was before the Prime Directive was in place. Right. But I mean, it's still what's the meaning that why wouldn't you save those people?
Right.
And I understand that maybe like in that episode, Phlox felt like it's not his job to intervene with natural evolution because, like I said,
that episode's Distant Origin, season 3, episode 23.
Okay.
But anyways, it's just that you feel like you are intervening any way you do it. I mean, if you come across somebody who's injured, you're helping them. So.
Well, then you got the time lady, the time ship, the Prometheus, whatever, and Voyager. Mm-hmm. Their whole job is to like rectify the temporal prime directive. But it's like who's to say like what the actual timeline's supposed to look like. I mean, they probably have a manufactured timeline that benefits them the most, I mean, like, what kind of accountability do you have when you're time traveling and you're supposed to be keeping the timeline pure?
This is what we need. We need a Law and Order style Star Trek series where it is the crimes of the Prime Directive and or the temporal Prime Directive, and then the courtroom repercussions afterwards.
Drama, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a 9-month gap in Discovery where Discovery's gone. And they come back 9 months later. I'm like, where was the Prometheus then? Why didn't they rectify the timeline?
Right.
It's just like, come on. Like, don't do things like that.
I don't understand necessarily.
I mean, I don't know. It's weird.
So I have, if you guys would humor me for just a few minutes.
Sure.
I know this. I don't know what your time frame on this is.
We have no time frame.
We have no time. Okay, awesome. As long as it takes.
Okay. Years ago, when I was still writing often for our website, I started writing a blog called "At the Crossroads in the Neutral Zone," and this is, I think, it was the subtitle was "Where Star Trek Went Wrong and Where We Can Fix It." This was pre-announcement of the Abrams films.
Okay, so this is going back before 2000.
Yeah, this was more This is actually more based on Enterprise than anything else. Okay. This is post-Enterprise, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I won't bore you with all this. I mean, it was lengthy, and I really got into the minutia of every single incarnation of the show, and how relevant it was to the overall arc of the entire series. I won't do that here because we all know. Mm-hmm. But this is where I think it went wrong. Next Generation, specifically, I actually more so DS9. I think established what we consider to be present-day Star Trek. I would say that is present day as far as we're concerned.
I mean, Voyager and Deep Space Nine run concurrent.
Yeah, so that's
besides the very, very end.
If it were to pick up again with that cast, it would be 20 years later, or whatever. Whenever Voyager ended, that would be that's present day for us.
Right.
And so that was the world we got accustomed to, the Dominion Wars and the Borgs and that whole thing. That's what was happening. That's what we were invested in. Even Voyager. My issue with Voyager and DS9, while I wasn't into it at first, I really started enjoying it. I'm not nearly as into it as you are, David, but I did enjoy it. And because it just expanded, it gave some gravitas to the entire franchise, and it gave us more reasons to care about what was happening in the greater Star Trek universe. When Voyager, I understand why Voyager happened. Voyager, to me, which is a show I enjoyed, and I fell off towards the end, but I did pick up to see it and to finish off. Is where it started to stray. Because I know what the intent was. It was to go back to the original Wagon Trade and the Stars original series mindset of let's just explore. Yeah. Because we weren't doing it anymore.
Right.
I mean, I think they were kind of running out of ideas for this established federation to be exploring because it's a fucking federation.
Right.
It's already established. We know where everything is at this point, outside of wherever Voyager goes.
Right.
So I get why the Voyager was doing that. But at the same time, every time I'm watching Voyager, I'm like, what's happening? What's happening with the Dominion? What's happening with DS9?
We don't know.
I want to know what's happening. And they started, and I think they started to get and this is pre-internet, but I think they started to get the feedback saying, hey, we want to know. So they were shoehorning in Barclay and the Borg Queen, and they were shoehorning Riker, and Tom came in, they had, in DS9, they were shoehorning people in just to kind of appease the audience. Like, hey, here's some people you'd recognize.
Right.
It wasn't enough. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be the Enterprise or DS9. I want to know what's happening on the greater universe. And we're far from that on Voyager. I'm literally light years away from that.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on.
Right. So then they decided we're going to come back and start all over. We're going to start fresh. We're going to start with Enterprise. I'm like, to me, I love the hell out of Scott Bakula, and I did enjoy. And mind you, I've enjoyed every incarnation of Star Trek on one level or another, and I enjoyed Enterprise a lot. But it wasn't where I thought the franchise should be going. It was a period piece, essentially.
Yeah, you're going back in time.
Right. If you consider that the next gen being present day, that was a period piece. Mm-hmm. And they already established, and I know they were kind of piggybacking on First Contact with Efren Cochran. They're like, yeah, this is great. We'll start here. We'll start post that.
Right.
But people are kind of like that. It was a cool movie.
Right.
But I'm like, okay. Well, do I want to see an entire film about
pre-TOS?
Yeah. Do I want to see? No, there's no transport. There's no that kind of stuff. I'm like, I don't know if I. And uniforms aside, we won't get into that because obviously uniform issue is non-concurrent. They doesn't give a shit about continuity of uniforms at that point. But it was just me getting farther away from what personally I wanted out of my Star Trek, which was the existing current day Star Trek universe, and whether it be a new series with cameos from old cast members, whatever the case may be. And then they announced they're making new films, and Abrams is going south, even going,
Yeah, now he's not even, he's rewriting the whole timeline.
Right. And I get, and I tell you what, I wanted to hate because of this is when I started writing my article. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to hate his reboot so bad, but I really enjoyed it, especially for the Kelvin timeline in there. Mm-hmm. I was like, God damn it, that's a way to do it. If you're going to appease Star Trek fans with a new timeline, that's like a new series, that's a way to do it. Make it an alternate timeline? Sure. We're all in. That's our wheelhouse.
Except for all the people that hate it.
Well, I know, but
it was a good idea. Yeah. It really was. Because that way you can do whatever you want and it doesn't matter.
Right.
But people still get upset for reasons.
Because they're not movies. They're just not spectacular Star Trek movies is the problem. They're good science fiction movies.
They're good action movies.
They're good action movies.
Yes. They're good science fiction, but they're not good Star Trek movies.
Right.
But they don't really have to be at this point because he's made his own timeline out of it, which is fine. And it was just his way out.
Even the old Star Trek movies weren't like...
They weren't that great.
They weren't super great Star Trek. I enjoy the Star Trek movies, but they're not like the deep intellectual things like the...
It works best as an episodic.
Or at least television.
There's only a couple of good Star Trek movies.
And they were still action movies.
Right. Yeah.
Except for Star Trek 4, which was like the closest it gets to a romantic comedy.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it worked. It was well done, but I mean, like Star Trek 6 was very much action drama.
Right.
2 was action.
And even the odds, even the odd number films to me were decent films. They were to me they were glorified episodes. Mm-hmm. But enjoyable nonetheless.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you guys have covered a lot of this on here, so I apologize if you have. But personally, what I think would work best is something closer to Battlestar, where it's an episodic series, multiple storyline episodic series. We've got something happening on Starfleet. We got something on various space stations. We got a couple. We can throw in the Enterprise. We can throw in with overlapping storylines with a main war. I know it's not exactly Roddenberry Star Trek. But it should reflect some sort of unity. It just, to me, and all the actors, they're all still around. Voyager and the DS9 and Next Gen actors are all still here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like we do, do a Game of Thrones Star Wars where everything is, or Star Trek. Do a Game of Thrones style Star Trek show where it's present day Star Trek. And then you've got, you can check in with Janeway, you can check in with Cisco. Like, maybe Cisco's come back from the Prophets or whatever, you know?
Yeah. And even if they're just cameos here and there, I'm fine with it. If you have a whole new fleet of starships that you're following, and then something happened on Starfleet Academy, let's do the drama, the CW version of it, as a minor storyline. Because they've thrown that.
And the thing is, they could do a season of it, and then do a movie, and then do another season, do a movie. Like, then that way you've got cameos of all the big actors, and the movie, you get all the big actors... For more time, and then you go back to the show where it jumps around a bunch.
Right. The only issue I have with that per se is that you're not going to probably get any new viewers into that.
But again, like we established,
you're not getting new viewers anyway because it's under a paywall.
That's their strategic idiocy with that because they should work around that some way, but. I know it's a money grab.
There is a guarantee there's a way to introduce a brand new series. You don't bring in the established actors for half a season. Yeah. Bring Picard in for a cameo like in episode 12. Yeah. And now we can start slowly bringing in. This is a horrible example, and the show tanked. But 90210 came back with a whole new. This is it. Some of the original cast members were in minor roles. Yeah. And if you didn't watch the original series, you didn't know or care that they were in the original series. But the old fans were watching it they had hard-ons for this. Right. Right,
Right.
Same idea. And it could be more so. God damn it, Michael Dorn will be in it. He'll be in it all day long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they wanted to do a Captain Worf thing for the longest time,
too. Michael Dorn wanted to do a Captain Worf.
Well, no, yeah, I know. Right.
Every cast member is going to do a whatever of their character all the time.
Well, but some more than others. Yeah. Takai, there should have been a suit. There was rumor
that would have been great.
That was close.
A lot of people were floating that for a long time, and that would have been awesome. And I would have watched the hell out of that. Yeah, that would have been great. A Sulu captaining the Excelsior.
But that's another thing too. You can have storylines that take place in within the non-Kelvin universe, the original, that take place back in the, at the Enterprise time frame or wherever,
right.
And have it interact, intertwine with the new storyline somehow. It just seems like it's a huge opportunity for a lot of great storyline.
Well, you would like the Destiny book trilogy because it ties in pretty much every era of Star Trek.
Oh, interesting.
It ties in DS9, TNG, Enterprise. And it deals with the creation and the demise of the Borg all together in like this trilogy. It's really good.
I only read one series that was a crossover, and it wasn't a crossover. It was literally a 4-part series. It started off in order. It was TOS, and then it was Next Gen, and then I think it was DS9, and then Voyager, and then I think there was a 5th book where they was all together. I remember, but it was about these aliens that were kind of taking over the bodies and. It was actually kind of dark and I don't remember what it was called. I have it at home still, but it was kind of dark and disturbing, and I was actually put off by it.
You were like, yeah. But wasn't the original idea before Discovery became Discovery that they were thinking that there would be a time travel show where they would visit?
Well, the original idea was it was going to be
not time travel.
It was going to be like American Horror Story, where each season was a different thing. Or a different time period through Star Trek.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
here's the thing: you got to be careful though when you're looking at if you're going to go hardcore and not do the the J. Abrams timeline of it. You're looking at what was the episode with DS9 where they go back to the original TOS with the
Trials and Tribulations.
Yeah, Trials and Tribulations. Yeah. Like that was a fun episode, but it was really campy.
Sure,
like
and it's done for that effect too. Yeah, absolutely. They did it to get the effect of that time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, So I mean, they said it was going to be a anthology show. Then they said it wasn't going to be. Then later they said that was the original plan, but it was too expensive to have to redo the sets every season.
Sure,
because it'd be different time periods. I mean, granted, most of the Shinzu sets are redressed for Discovery, except for the bridge. I think the bridge is the only one that's unique for the Shinzu. I think all the other ones are redresses.
And well, I mean, it would have been cool to see something like that, but what if they did a show like on Prometheus, like you're saying, and that they could go back and forth in time, that there was in the future?
That would be fun.
And
that's another costly show, though, but God damn it, it got my alley 100%.
But I mean, they'd be going back in time, fixing.
And we could see like the outcome of the temporal prime directive thing with Archer, because I hate that they like dropped that storyline.
Well, I always throw this out as. I don't know if you've seen it, but the Hamlet play that was based off it was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, where the two characters and how they're instrumental with Hamlet, but you don't know that they do all these crazy. It's a great.
There was a Star Wars series like that about two stormtroopers.
Oh, really?
Very similar to it. Yeah.
But I mean, what if
the comic book series?
TK-47 and TK-63 are dead.
But what if that the Prometheus story would go back to all the time travel ones that they dealt with, and they were like fixing things like shit, Picard left all these alien alerts, and we have to go and pull them out and stuff like that, and it just that's a little funny.
That's Discovery was 9 months. We'll leave that.
Huh?
That sounds like a webcomic to me.
It does, but it would be fun though. It'd be fun to do, and it'd be like adventures where they're fixing all their problems.
It bothers me because they established this universe for how many years? I mean, literally, it's from 65?
We're 66.
66 up through.
So 52 years now.
So and when did Voyager end? Up until that time frame was established, this universe, and they literally just said, ta-ta.
Yeah,
and when it's all happened, it still exists. As far as I'm concerned, it's still present day.
Everything's been prequels since then, which is a shame.
What I think could be the issue more than anything, and I'm not, and this is one thing that my brain goes to when you talk about like what happens after Deep Space Nine and Voyager. I don't think people have the imagination how far technology can go. You know what I mean?
I think that's part of the problem.
It's like if you go ahead an extra 50 years.
But another problem.
That's also true. Yeah, I mean, they were kind of ahead of the time as it was. But now we've gotten to a point where some of that stuff
is like
we're catching up.
To it,
We're doing it now, and we're like, well, whatever.
Well, that's part of the problem. That's a huge part of the problem. Us being able to anticipate future technologies when things are changing so much for us right now. That's hard. Secondly, Star Trek Online, the MMO game, is actually technically canon for what's happening after.
Oh, is that so?
Yes. I mean, they could always retcon it as not being canon when they come out with a new thing. Yeah, I mean, because it's a video game, it doesn't need to be canon. But since it's the only thing that's taking place afterwards in Star Trek, and it's still like approved by CBS, it's technically canon. So there are future things that have happened, and they're getting like the original actors and stuff. They just rebuilt Deep Space Nine.
That's a great idea. I wish that was on TV. That's all I'm saying. And what's nothing too is that you're not going to get burned out by having to produce an hour-long isolated storyline every single week, episode of the week. Yeah. You literally are writing 10 minutes of an episodic story every week. That's it. Yeah. You're writing a multiple, but
right.
It seems like a no-brainer. You can literally extend. It's taking 3 shows and extending it that much longer by just splicing up and putting it. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, there's a lot of things. I think CBS and Paramount have done a lot of stuff just to completely fall down on the Star Trek franchise. I mean,
they've got such they don't know how to handle it. That's the problem.
Well, it's like Warner Brothers in the DC universe. I mean, they're
making stuff, but they don't know what to do with it.
I feel like once it's also CBS. I don't know how directly involved they were to begin with.
Well, they used to be. Well, I mean when they were
beyond
all
60, like from the 80s to the 90s. How much feedback was Paramount even giving them?
I'm sure there was enough. I'm sure there was.
I kind of feel like they were I don't know. I feel like they were like, okay, we've had a good thing going here. Just keep going. And now they're like, okay, let's change things up. Let's juggle it around. Let's see what we can do now.
The thing is with Paramount. I guess Paramount was the parent company, or it was Viacom, I guess, whatever. That was back in because the Next Gen was syndicated, and then Deep Space Nine I think was syndicated. Then Voyager came out on the CW because it was WB. It was WB then.
It was No.
It was the WB Frog.
WB? Are you sure? I thought it was their it was a Paramount network, wasn't it?
There's UPN.
It was
UPN. But UPN became the WB.
Yeah.
But I think during the time, UPN. So, that's the thing. The studio was kind of involved with Next Gen.
Right.
The studio was involved with Deep Space Nine until Voyager came out. And the studio was like, fuck you, Deep Space Nine, we're going to focus on Voyager, which actually was Deep Space Nine's saving grace.
Oh, because they let them get away with a lot.
They could do whatever they wanted, and that's why Deep Space Nine is one of the best series, is because it only had studio meddling for the first 2 seasons, which are by far the worst 2 seasons of the show. And then once the studio started focusing on Voyager and let the writers be creative, that's when Deep Space Nine grew into its own, and that's why it's my favorite show, because it's clearly got so much less studio meddling.
Right.
Voyager is way too much.
Yeah.
And I just wonder, Voyager might have been my favorite series had
the studio stepped away.
The studio focused on Deep Space Nine and let Voyager people do what they wanted to do.
Another issue with Voyager, I think, just the premise alone is so limiting as far as
the premise is great. They just didn't follow through with any of it
on a week-to-week basis of. Hey, we're gonna get home. Oh, we're not gonna get home. We're getting home. We're not gonna get home. We're getting like that. That's tough to sustain.
And it should have been like Battlestar Galactica.
They should have set up a generational ship. Make people shack up.
And the ship is always like falling apart, and they gotta get it. And it's always looks brand spanking new. And it's a little bit like, look.
But they held the old uniforms. That was the only thing, was that they had the old uniforms, the old Next Gen uniforms, whereas Next Gen had moved on to the gray. The gray and the color,
all that changed from in the movies when they got there. I don't know. I there's a lot of things that I think a lot of the people in charge fell down on.
Well, I mean, they're focusing too hard on making Voyager an action show instead of like good science fiction.
Or are you talking
Voyager?
Oh, okay.
They wanted Voyager to be more action oriented, so they sacrificed everything for action.
And going back to your episode last week with Bobby of
Robbie,
who watches Robbie?
Yeah, who watches The Watcher?
Nerdy yeah. Who watches The Watchers is.
Oh yeah, I'm back.
Yeah,
welcome back.
Is that, to me, that was the closest thing to Roddenberry's Star Trek that Next Gen did the whole run, or closer to it, because it was social commentary.
It was
hidden in.
What about The Naked Time? It's exactly the same as The Naked Now.
Yeah, well,
I thought not all of Next Gen.
I'm not saying it was only by any means, but to me it was at least a good. If you had to slice open, okay, this is what. If you want to see what Roddenberry wanted to do with Star Trek,
right now,
this is it. That's not the case anymore. not
the case. And that's honestly, I'm sorry, Dave. That's one of the reasons I've never really loved Deep Space Nine that much, because I always felt that they kind of strayed very far from the Roddenberry idea and made it into a more of a war story. And
I like war,
which I don't have a problem with, because
it's not that you wouldn't have war in space. It's not that. It's just like it's not what I really was tuning in for.
Like this Time Zero, when Troy is telling Clemens about how perfect Earth is. That's not interesting.
No, it's not.
It's not interesting storytelling.
No, it's not interesting, but it's interesting going and exploring and finding the worlds that aren't in that world, or you have that, I mean, and we saw that in the Star Trek Continues, where they took the crew and they found planets that were not evolved enough or having their own issues, and it's the same idea. Those are the things I love,
and that's another thing which, with an episodic multi-storyline show, you could still do those stories with one of the storylines and still have a DS9 Dominion story.
And maybe what you're saying is why they keep doing prequels instead of doing sequels. Maybe people didn't. The general popular consensus was people didn't like Deep Space Nine, and so they're scared to do something afterwards because people didn't like that. So they have to go back in the past so we can do the exploring thing some more. And
there's an existing Star Trek universe out there with a cast that's still able to appear in it if they want to. It doesn't make sense not to utilize it.
And I want to see more what happens. Does Cisco come back?
Right.
Does Janeway get put in jail for the rest of her life?
It'd be funny if
for the
Cisco
love of God, I hope
back
so.
And he's like in that Captain's and he just plays piano the whole time. He doesn't do anything else.
He's just like crazy.
You ever see that?
He's become insane.
It's a Shatner documentary where he goes back and
you gotta watch it.
It's hilarious. So he
interviews all the captains.
Patrick Stewart,
Kate Mulgrew.
Have you seen it?
I haven't seen it, but I know what you're talking about.
But what's his name?
It's called Captains, wasn't it? Was that the name of it?
Yeah, Avery Brooks.
He
is insane.
Oh yeah,
it's hilarious. So in the very beginning, they're talking. They're walking along the road and they're talking. He seems coherent. And then he's back at Avery Brooks' house and he's playing piano and it's beautiful, but
he's like singing weird songs and making up songs.
Questions, and Avery Brooks is just singing and won't talk to him.
Like waxing metaphysical. Like he's saying a bunch of weird stuff.
It's hilarious, actually.
Wow,
it's just funny, awesome. But you're like, either he doesn't want to answer the questions, or
he doesn't know how.
He doesn't know what.
Or he's completely
doesn't know who William Shatner is. He's doing
that's why.
A little much too peyote.
I just he's been emissary for too long. He's been in that.
Well, that's the thing.
Fourth, fifth dimension, whatever he's at. Well,
the thing is, after I saw the Captains and went back and started watching Deep Space Nine season 7, which is where he's starting to realize he's an emissary. He starts acting crazy in the show, and I'm like, he's not acting crazy. He's just not acting anymore. He's just being himself.
Yeah,
that's Avery Brooks being Avery Brooks. He's not being Cisco anymore in season 7.
Very obtuse. Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
I think. It would have been nice if they would utilize the crew members that are still alive. I know Brent Spiner said he doesn't want to play Data because he's gotten too old and fat.
That makes sense. It's like,
but CGI,
they can CG him.
CGI him. They could totally. He could do his whole thing. And
they keep making Patrick Stewart young in X-Men. So might as well.
Yeah, I don't know, but and I think
Douglas looked really great in Ant-Man and the Wasp. They did really good CGI with him.
That's not cheap though. They're not going to do it for a television series.
Yeah, but
I don't know. Like the deep fakes thing, they shaved Henry Cavill's beard for way cheaper with the deep fakes program.
Yeah, but here's the thing: I when that trailer came out, it was a big deal because Paramount wouldn't let Tim shave his beard for the reshoots. It wasn't just a mustache; he had a full shadow. It wasn't. People were giving. I was like Paramount's being a dick for not letting him shave and. No, it was he had a beard. It wasn't, and of course it looked like shit, because, sometimes it looked okay. It depends on what shot you're looking at. Yeah. But it wasn't just a mustache. It was a full, kind of like a 4 or 5 days.
Doesn't matter, that movie was garbage.
Well, no, I know, but that's the point. At first I was like, they're dicks. I'm like, no, it would have way too much work.
Yeah, to grow it all back.
But the thing is, the deep fakes program, that's just an algorithm. Like, people programmed it in, and it looks better. Like, they use different things of Henry Cavill with hair, and not just not just Justice League. They used other clips of him and they shaved him, and it looked way better.
Oh, way better than what Warner Brothers did.
And for millions of dollars of CGI, this was like a cheap program this guy made. Like that learning algorithm worked way better. do that with Data. You make him look young again.
I'm just saying, it would be cool to see them all come back, or at least some incarnation. But
now, how far into the future? I don't remember now. In All Good Things, what was the time jump in the future?
I honestly,
it's right now. Would it be next?
It would be almost like now.
Yeah,
probably.
So if Patrick Stewart started playing himself after All Good Things, this would be the perfect time, you know, to do it. And
Picard on his vineyard.
But yeah, I don't think they're going to go that way. I really don't think they the people in charge.
I mean, the only hope is that the vague animated series they've mentioned, which may be doing that.
God, I the animated series would be nice so you can get the next gen people back. But
right.
After the TOS animated series.
Oh, that's 1970.
That was the best animation you got back then.
Yeah, you don't remember. 1974 did not have great animation.
Oh, I mean, I remember He-Man looked really bad like that too.
He-Man, that was the 80s.
Yeah,
and it still looked bad like that.
That was Filmation. Yeah.
No, but
Filmation was a terrible.
But the thing is, I don't know. Like, I'm not a fan of modern animation. Like, the new Thundercats looks awful.
No, that's different.
The new She-Ra looks awful.
Have you watched like Clone Wars? This would be a pretty. I think.
Have you watched the Voltron? Has anybody watched?
No,
Voltron?
I didn't like.
Yeah, Voltron was good. I mean, but it looks like anime, like good Japanese anime.
Pretty good.
Yeah, because it looks like Japanese anime, not like crappy American animation.
Yeah.
As long as it's like if they make a like Japanese animation, whatever, Star Trek, that'd be great because that animation is beautiful. Right. But American animation now is garbage. I hate it for the most part.
Well, I don't know.
And I'm not a fan of CG stuff either, like the Clone Wars. Yeah. I hate it. Everyone's face is like a freaking it's ugly. I don't like that style. Like if they're doing CG, at least make them look good, please. Rebels did a little bit better than Clone Wars,
but they still had that. Yeah.
They were still kind of ugly.
Well, I don't know, man. I think we exhausted the subject of Time Zero.
Yes,
by talking about everything but Time Zero.
I apologize for bringing it up.
No, it's cool.
It was good. It's good talking about that.
Good to talk about it. Yeah.
So now I don't have to write the article.
Now I don't have to write it exactly. You said,
just cite it here. Synthaholics.
Why don't you let everyone know where you can be found?
It's filmdumpster.com. Mm-hmm. Twitter at filmdumpster. Instagram at filmdumpster. I do our Twitter. I'm not spectacularly great on keeping up on it. I do all over Facebook. Facebook is filmdumpster. YouTube, Film Dumpster, we put over interviews and everything up there. Instagram is run by my colleagues out in the West Coast. Most of my colleague Nick Berg and Kevin Shadle and I started. He goes by Kevin Edward for the site. Started the series, the website, I should say. Nick has since moved to Los Angeles. He's working for the Writers Guild. Okay. The podcast is now produced out in Los Angeles with Nick, our friend Tom Curley, who's an Academy Award-winning sound engineer.
Cool.
He won for Whiplash. We all went to film school together.
Nice.
So it was fantastic to see him win an Oscar. It was great.
So the show sounds better than ours.
A little bit. And then it's also co-hosted by our friend Mike Kudowski, who's a prop designer. So we have 3 people within the industry hosting much better than what I used to do when I hosted it.
Right.
So feel listen to the podcast as well.
Yeah, awesome. Very good. So check out for that. And then Dave?
Yeah, we're at Synthaholics.com. You can find us, you can email us at synthaholics@yahoo.com. Join the Facebook conversation at facebook.com/group/Synthaholics. On Twitter, I am David_J_Duncan. The show is at Synthaholic Duo. Aaron's at Blackbird 2004, and Holly's at Lunar Thistle.
Definitely go to Apple iTunes, rate and review us there. Give us some nice 5 stars.
You do the same for Film Rounds. You can be great things.
Yeah, listen to
absolutely,
and give them some 5 stars and some nice comments as well. Also go to Patreon/Synthaholics. If you have some money you could throw our way, we'd greatly appreciate it. And also, the best way to support the podcast, if you don't have money and you don't feel like writing us and giving us stars, is let people know about Synthaholics. It's word of mouth is a wonderful way to share the show and let people know who we are.
Door to door like the Mormons. It works for them. Mm-hmm. Let's make it work for us.
Well, let's shoot Time Zero into the ground.
Yes, exactly. Into the forehead of energy sucking.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
They gave me an excuse to wear my red shirt.
I did enjoy that. I thought it was very cool.
I got free through Kellogg's.
Kellogg's?
Nice.
The 6 Brewster Perkins and $6 for the shipping.
How much?
You can choose between medical or science or chemical command. I got engineering for
engineering
because it's red.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, and thank you all for listening. Live long and prosper. One and all.
Before the night's over, I'll puke in the sand.
drinking friend I ever had.
Don't know them there the words to her. I like slitting them sheets though.
I've heard about that. You and your sheets.
Yeah. Oh, Holly was always amazed that I said that.
She knew you were just practicing.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed.